I'm Danny, that witch next door, and you're listening to That Witch Podcast. Hello, neighbor. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of That Witch Podcast. If you've never been here before, hi, I'm Danny, and I'm that witch next door, and I am going to be your host, your guide, your mentor, and instructor in all things magic, witchcraft, astrology, and witchy-aligned business. And I had so much fun preparing for this episode today. So I'm feeling really good today. It is Solstice week for everyone listening to this at release time. So all of my merriest and brightest winter solstice blessings and love are being sent to you. The solstice is exact tomorrow, Wednesday, the 21st. You can hear more about that on yesterday's Moon Day Musings episode if you didn't catch that already. And you know, I have really grown in my appreciation for winter and the winter season. So my love for the winter solstice has really expanded, especially over the last couple of years. And I am basically in some really good just post-retrograde year reflection. I'm really trying to take these last few weeks of the year and do the retrograde thing. Really reflect on and reevaluate everything up until this point, especially that transpired over this particular calendar year. And then ask myself, how can I kind of redefine and realign for moving forward even more intentionally and even more authentic in the new year, starting in 2023. And, if New Year's stuff is like, it's just a calendar date, you should be able to do that any time of year. I totally agree with you. And I think that we have New Year's Eve moments all the time in the various cycles of our life. And this is just one of those cycles. So if it does resonate with you the way it does with me, I really hope that you're able to also give yourself some time for that reflection. Let's transition though, because I'm really excited to get into today's episode. Let's transition into today's That Witch School Bulletin. So fun things that we are up to in that witch school. Last week we did level 3 astrology together. We learned all about the degrees together. I hosted a live lesson inside Mighty Networks that full-time students could attend. And I also recorded it, and the replay is available to all full-time students and all part-time students. And to kind of complement all of that, I updated and created some really helpful reference tools and resources for everyone inside that witch school, including our next door neighbors. So our bonus content last week were some really handy and helpful charts for astrology study that I know a lot of people have been really loving already. And just a quick thing that I wanted to mention, something that is very much happening right now, if you're at all interested. I am working on converting some of this bonus content into digital downloads that you can just purchase for an affordable price on my online shop. So if subscribing to that witch school is just not fitting for you right now or in general, but you really want some access to some of this bonus content, I am working on how I can package that up and get it on my website for you. So stay tuned for that. Little update. Speaking of the online shop, we've hit a couple of very silly and unfortunate technical difficulties in the back end area, but merchandise for that witch podcast is coming extremely soon. I was hoping to drop that during this holiday season, and it just totally didn't happen, and that's totally fine. I think it's going to be even more aligned this way because it is definitely going to be a thing in 2023. So stay tuned for some adorable witchy merch coming your way. And honestly, the last update I wanted to bring up for this week's school bulletin is how thriving the community is becoming and just growing every day on Mighty Networks. So we've had some really, really valuable guest workshops, and in particular, Mary Sue's The Art of Reading Tarot for Others workshop that she taught a few weeks back has really sparked and really ignited some great community engagement. And it's honestly been so cool to watch. As the founder and kind of like host of the space, to see people coming in and posting their tarot readings and sharing with each other and giving each other insight. And that's totally branching into all kinds of different areas. You know, people post about their funky dreams that they have, clips or screenshots of their chart and ask for help, and tips for rituals and how to get started in creating your own sigils. And it's just been so incredibly collaborative. And it's really taken off in this really natural way. It's just kind of happening now without a lot of prompting. And it's so beautiful to see. You cannot underestimate that kind of value that kind of community setting brings. So if that's something that you've been looking for, please, you're so welcome to join us in the full-time student tier. That's where you get access to Mighty Networks and our online social platform. It's just $30 a month. You get the all access pass to everything inside that witch school, including all of my courses and course materials, live calls and live lessons, the shadow work support group, all of it. So yeah, and $30 is like kind of an insane steal for all of that. So we would love to have you. And without further ado, let's transition into our neighbor highlight of the week. So our neighbor that I wanted to shout out this week is one of our full-time students, and it is Emily. Emily, I am shouting you out today and paying you some serious credit where credit is due, because after Emily joined that witch school and had started looking through level 1, level 2 astrology, she reached out and asked, hey, are there any like handy reference charts where it just compiles all the information, you know, on all the planets or all the houses that you can just refer to? And I was like, oh my God, this is something that I really, really value. Reference sheets have gotten me through so many different areas of study, not just astrology. Something I've definitely been backburnering for way too long. I'm so glad you reached out with the idea, and I was able to turn that around. And those are all of the really handy resource tools that I was telling you about that I released last week to kind of complement level 3 astrology going live for students. So Emily, thank you so much for reaching out with that really, really valuable feedback. It's feedback like that improves the experience of that witch school, and therefore really eventually and ultimately the entire neighborhood and outstanding community. So thank you so much. You're awesome. Just wanted to shout you out. And now, everyone, let's get into it. Okay, what I wish I knew when I started my first business. This was a very, very interesting one to prepare for. First of all, this list could either be like endless, or I was also kind of finding myself like kind of frozen. Like, where do I even begin? Because there's so many things. And honestly, it's not just business. Every time we do this style of reflection, what would I tell my younger self? What would I tell my less experienced self? I mean, really, ultimately, in a lot of ways, those lists could be endless. Because, sure, there's a million things that were like now in hindsight that were like, well, I mean, a lot. There's a lot that I would do differently. So I didn't want to look at this too heavily as what would I do differently. I try not to look at a lot of things in my life that way because it doesn't really help with things like regret. And I don't find regret to be super helpful. I find remorse to be more helpful. And I find introspective consideration to be some of the most helpful, which is okay, I can be real with myself about mistakes that were made outside of me, mistakes that were made within me. And I can use that as helpful information now moving forward forever. That's ultimately my intention I took with this, and that I want that's the intention I want to really cast upon our episode today. So what I did to prepare for this was I brainstormed what I felt like were my biggest mistakes in business. And I'm unfortunately, you're probably like, awesome. No, I'm not going to read through all of these. I am going to share some of them with you, but that would be a whole different episode because again, I didn't have a hard time naming my mistakes. Shocker. It was a pretty long list. But I wrote down this list and I kind of categorized them because I noticed that there were these natural categories. And believe it or not, lo and behold, those categories are essentially the main pillars in a business model in general. And everything kind of trickles down from these main pillars. So what I did is I split this up into 5 sections. And we're going to go through them. I'll probably share my experience and why I have the insight and the advice that I do, and how I would actually advise myself and how I do very much advise my clients that I mentor in their business development. So one thing that I really want to note before we get into all of this, this kind of episode, what I wish I knew when I started my first business, it's one of those episodes where I'm like, this is why I do what I do. This is one of my biggest whys for me because I love going through my experience with that introspective consideration and offering up my experience and gained knowledge for people with aligned values and aligned missions and aligned visions. Okay. So what I don't do is I don't work with people as much, if at all anymore, in developing their business idea. So I don't really help get you from the transition of, I don't know what I want to do with my career. I might want to start a business. These are some of the ideas that I have. Can you help me do that? That's not the type of mentoring that I do. Mainly because I am best suited for the part in your journey once you have already started said business and you have at least a little bit of traction under you. You have something that you sell or something that you offer. You have some kind of platform that you're trying to do that on, whether it's a website or a platform like Etsy or Upwork or whatever it is. It could be Instagram that you're doing your business on, but I have a lot of tools in my arsenal and on the website and in the podcast that help give you the tools to create your own clarity. And I also have wonderful references for people in the spiritual industry that do more of that type of work, where they offer sessions and readings that are really meant to provide you clarity on your direction and where you should even go in your career in general. And if you should start a business and how to fresh get that started, I definitely have wonderful people I can refer you to. So if you ever reach out to me and that's what you need, you'll find that that's typically what I'll end up doing. If you reach out to me and you're seeking a tarot reading, or you're wanting just a general birth chart reading, I'm probably going to refer you to somebody else who that's their main niche and what they do. What I love to do is work with students of astrology, students of witchcraft, and students in entrepreneurship and business who are already active in those areas and need help honing in, refining their processes, and growing, especially when it comes to aligning those practices with their real life. That's really where I come into play. So I just wanted to put that out there so that everybody knows the best way that I can help and serve you. So let's talk about some business advice, shall we? Let's see, we have one more day? Yeah, one more day, because the solstice is tomorrow. So we have one more day of Sagittarius season, and Capricorn season starts tomorrow. So the first category in business that I would go back and I would talk to my less experienced self about would be the area of partners, collabs, and competition, AKA other individuals in business. So some of you know me since my earliest days in entrepreneurship, when I first co-founded and co-managed and ran Arcana Herbal, the metaphysical shop here in Denver and online. And some of you have met me at only my That Witch Next Door juncture. And this is the only business that you've seen me in, the only business light you've seen me in. There have also been many other little side avenues in addition to these. So I've done a lot of starting things, and I've worked with a lot of different people. And now I'm overall a sole proprietor. Now I'm turning into, I'm starting to have like a team that's going to continue growing. And I also work with other individual business owners. So that is my current relationship with other business owners. Here's one of the most common issues that happen for people that are really called to and want to start a business, especially when you have close friends or acquaintances with some common interests, some common values, and some common vision. And you're in those early decision-making processes of how do I know? How do I know that this is what I want to do? How do I know that this is the person I want to work with long term? And some of the best insight, it wasn't really advice, it was insight. Some of the best insight I ever received, probably midway through my current career journey, was most business partnerships and pretty much always your very first business in general, plus your first business relationships, will come to an end. And the reason I would go back and tell myself this is because I would specifically remind myself, this doesn't mean at all that it was wrong or a mistake to start it in the first place. It doesn't always automatically mean that it was a mistake to go into business with this person or with these people in the first place. Sure, there are definitely horror stories out there of partners that go rogue, go corrupt, end up screwing over the other partner or the company in general. Absolutely. But the majority of the time, the majority collective experience is that people grow, people change, businesses grow, businesses change. Sometimes you grow more and more and more in alignment. And sometimes the more you grow, the farther apart your paths take you. And I wish so badly I could sit that younger version, that less experienced version of myself down with her business partners at the time. And I would say, give each other grace. Always give each other grace. And when this likely ends one day, whether it's 5 years from now or 30 years from now, keep giving each other that grace. Know that it is because your paths are changing, and don't hold that against each other in any way. So I really, really encourage you. When I was preparing for the episode and I was thinking about how do you know? How do you know it's the right partner? How do you know it's the right business? How do you know? First of all, the lyrics and song from Enchanted came into my head. How do you know? All my random Enchanted friends out there. I feel like that's like a little tiny mini cult following. That movie didn't get too huge, but it got kind of big. Anyways, I digress in the cutest way. For the cutest movie. How do you know? You can't. You can't. You can know what you know in that moment. And I do strongly encourage you to be sure of that. I do strongly encourage you all to have open, honest, forthcoming conversations with each other and with yourself about what your values are, what your vision is for the future, and therefore what your mission is to get you there. And yeah, I think that those things should align with each other if you're going to do business with each other. But I also think it's okay to have things not in common with each other. I think it's definitely okay and sometimes really, really good to be different from each other and see things a different way and have different strengths. Man, if there's something I could go back and tell those young girls starting their first real first official business, I would tell them, I'm so proud of you all for being so open and honest and forthcoming about what your values were at that time and what your mission was and what your vision was for the business and for your lives. We did that so early on. We were really young. And I just think that was such a important move. And I would definitely go back to my younger self and say, I'm really, really proud of you for that. Now, give yourselves a way out. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Again, I mean that in the way of give each other grace when things inevitably change. It is so fucking rare. The lifetime relationships, even in our personal life, are so rare. Guess where they're rarer? Business. And that's okay. Accept that business operates far more in seasons than in lifetimes, in human lifetimes. And give each other a way out by giving yourself and each other, anyone that you're working with, grace. When it comes to partners, people you collaborate with, and competition, it's really important that you get clear on your own alignment. And when you're interacting with someone or something that totally fucking throws it off. It's really, really important. because it is an extremely effective way to make short-term and long-term decisions and choices that you can really, really trust no matter what. So it's really important that you get familiar with what feels aligned for you and when that's being totally thrown off versus what's just putting you outside of your comfort zone. Because it's okay and it's a good thing to go outside of our comfort zone. It is the main thing that triggers growth is when we're uncomfortable, when we're trying something new or when something goes wrong or a mistake is made. This is when growth takes place. So discomfort, though shitty feeling, extremely, extremely important. However, very, very different than the feeling of this is not right. This is not aligned with me. I can say yes to this and I can easily say no to this because I am very in tune with and very trusting of my inner alignment. Okay. The other word for that could definitely be inner trust or inner intuition. Now, the next category would be operations. For the next 4 categories, we have a phrase that I'm going to repeat because it applies to each category very, very strongly. But I'm going to walk you through how it matters to each one. When it comes to operation, don't rush this part of business. Don't skip this part of business. And make sure you learn this part of business. Don't rush it. Don't skip it. Make sure you learn it. Operations, like your systems and your processes and your policies, the organization, the schedule, how things flow, any automations. This shit matters. Accounting and finances fall under this. Inventory and stock fall under this. Tracking, data organization, data collecting, all of that falls under operations. And guess what, my friend? It's boring. It's boring. Operations isn't cute. Operations isn't fun. All right, let's be fair. There are plenty of people out there that this is definitely the fun part of business. And I see you and you're valid. And I love people like you because I have learned so much from the way your brain works and from the way you can systemize and process everything and organize everything. I have learned so much from you. So here was my biggest mistake. I totally undervalued all of this so early on. This doesn't matter. We'll do this later. This isn't fun. This isn't cute. This doesn't promote creativity. We need to be doing what promotes creativity. We need to be doing what we love in business first, right? Well, yeah, your business, if you're an entrepreneur, and frankly, if in general, one of your goals and intentions in this life is that your life and your livelihood align, then yeah, it would be a top priority to love what you do and to enjoy doing it. I get that. And hello, welcome to Earth. You are human. So am I. Guess what the fuck that means? It means we gotta do shit we don't like to do. Period. We've learned this since we were toddlers. I don't want to wear a coat to go outside, but you will get so cold, you will get sick or die. I don't feel like eating. I don't want to eat at all, right? When you're a kid and there are these things that you learn that even though there are certain times you don't want to do it. I don't want to go to bed. Oh my God, that's the best one ever. My daughter, I was just like this. My husband says he's just like this. Probably everyone I know, almost every single person I know was like this. Except for my best friend, Christy. Shout out, because she loves to sleep. She's always been good about sleeping. Not wanting to sleep, right? Is that not one of the biggest fights with kids? And how how difficult is it to explain sometimes, like, but you have to sleep. You physically have to sleep. Your body needs it for survival. You have to. You have to drink water. You need it to survive. All these things. And in the earliest development of our life, we're like, we fight all of that. Do you know why we fight that? Because that's how we learn to take care of ourselves. That's how we learn via experience. Where, when we're toddlers, we're bumping and banging into everything. And this is how we're learning essentially. And so what do? We say no to our needs. And it's a really powerful way of learning, oh, that's what a need is. When you totally deny yourself of one, is there any more powerful or strong or potent lesson than totally starving yourself of something you need and realizing, oh, wow, that's a non-negotiable for me. I definitely need that. I'm going to make sure I work that into the overall system here. Guess what? That is the operations of your business. When you skip all of those quote unquote boring parts of your business, you fucking starve your business. You don't let it sleep. You don't give it water. You don't teach it any kind of self-love or self-respect. You don't teach it how to have any kind of executive function. So what happens? It turns into this giant entity that's a chicken with its head cut off, that's just running around trying to figure it out without actually really learning anything, because you're not setting it up for any kind of success. Could you sit down and properly learn anything and grow from it and integrate any of the information if you didn't make sure that you ate food and drank water and slept regularly before and after that lesson or class? No. When we are deprived of our most basic needs, none of the other shit we're shoving at ourselves matters. It would be like when we need those most basic things like food and water and sleep, and we kept coming to our business or to ourselves, but it's in the metaphor, it's our business. And we kept coming to ourselves and saying, but I bought you this new shirt. It's a really awesome shirt. You really like it. You've wanted it for a really long time. Why is this not helping? And your poor body's like, bitch, we need water and food. We haven't slept in days. I don't give a fuck about clothes right now. It's the last thing on my goddamn mind. Your business is doing the same thing. And I have learned this firsthand. Hi, neighbor. I want to take a quick moment to thank our episode affiliate for the day, one of my favorite companies and products to date, Magic of Eye and their astrological planner. If this is not your first time in the neighborhood and you've been around for a while, you very well know how much I love and how frequently I mention this planner. It has been a part of my astrological journey pretty much since the very beginning of my studies. This planner not only has educational support like reference materials, there's basically a mini textbook at the beginning of this planner, but it also just has journey support because there's journal spaces, there's a lunar calendar, there's a transit calendar to help you learn astrology, but to actually start living very cyclically and cosmically, regardless of your experience level. This is what I love about this planner. It's very, very accessible, no matter what experience level you are with astrology. Personally, I use it for both my personal life and my business. It's an integral part of my planning and scheduling practices. Now, this year for the 2023 edition, their new theme is astromycology. So in this 280-page astrology planner, again, that is for all different experience levels, we are now getting the extra edition of mycology exploration, or the magic and healing properties of mushrooms. And this is absolutely a fascinating subject to me, as I'm sure it already is to so many of you. And the cool part is not only is there a section in the planner with different types of mushrooms and their healing properties and benefits, but they also have an exploration on astrology to fungi connection, which I think is so cool. Get yours today and support That Witch podcast by ordering yours at the link in the show notes below. When you sweep accounting and finances and bookkeeping and taxes under the rug, when you don't give a shit about actually mapping out what your mission statement is and why, what your values are, so that you genuinely know what kind of people you want to work with and what kind of business you want to conduct and what you want your business to ultimately do for yourself and your community at large. When you skip over the incredibly important, sure, tedious, but creating processes and organization systems, your business is left to just flop out of water like a fish. Flop like a fish out of water. There we go. And you're standing there shouting at the poor fish flopping out of water and going, "What do you need? I just don't understand. I keep buying ads. I keep paying to boost your posts on Instagram. What the heck? Why is this not working?" It needs its basic needs met. So, a very experienced and successful business owner will tell you that this is so important, because you will have many, many times in your business career, regardless of it's the same business and company you've been running that whole time, or you try many different organizations and projects within that timeline, no matter what, the most successful and experienced people will tell you that you're going to have to come back to your basics repeatedly. You're going to have to come back to and nurture and rework your business operations, aka your business foundation, regularly throughout your time as a business owner and as an entrepreneur. So don't skip it in the first place, for sure. And if you are in that position where you do have a business and you have skipped all of that, start now. Start now. I really, really, really find that this is one of the biggest problems and downfalls of beginner and even intermediate entrepreneurs. They hyper prioritize aesthetics and how things look, and like looking really classy and looking like the competitors that they're comparing themselves to for their market research, which is fine. But they're getting hung up on the aesthetics. They're getting hung up on followers numbers and the like count on a post. And they're some of the people that have ignored the most basic and most important parts of their business. And I'm speaking directly from the horse's mouth. It was one of the biggest failures I've ever done for myself in my own businesses was skipping over this, skipping over operations. So once you have really created this foundation for yourself and you've nurtured the operations side of your business, you have organization systems in place, you've written out your company policies, you know what your mission is, you know what your values are, and you know what your vision is and where you want to go. You know your numbers. You've got systems set up for tracking and collecting data. You're really, really dedicated to working on building the habit it takes to continuously check into these things and make sure that they're working properly. Luckily, most of these things are things that you set it, you create it and build it, and you set it, and you just have to check back in and make tweaks every once in a while. But then once you've really, really thoroughly covered and created thriving and strong operations, an operational foundation for your business, then we can now move into the next category, which is marketing. Marketing. Well, first and foremost, don't forget, when it comes to marketing, don't rush it, don't skip it, and make sure you learn it. When I first started my first business, I thought marketing was advertisements. I have a mom who works in ads and marketing, has for, God, can't even remember how many years now, an extremely long time, probably over 20 years. I have just always, first of all, keep in mind, anybody born in the turn of the century knows that we're just born into marketing. Holy cow. Our media, including our news media, is marketing, number one. Marketing just like suffocates us from the moment we come out, doesn't it? But guess what? It's crucial. It's crucial to your business. There is a way to learn marketing for entrepreneurship and small business ownership that is not at all the big, icky, sticky, gross, unethical marketing that you see from the giant big box and big corporate brands that you're so used to being shoved down your throat. That information is out there, but you gotta seek it. That was one of the biggest mistakes. Thinking that marketing was just advertisements and throwing random money at random Instagram posts or social media posts. And being really shocked that didn't do anything. Maybe grew some followers, and then being really confused, like, I don't understand why when our follower count goes up and our like count goes up on posts, why our sales don't go up, Now, technically, if you keep doing the work and you keep posting about your shit and you keep making your shit available, you'll make some money, and very likely it will grow. But my friend, especially if you're in retail business, it will grow at such a snail's pace, it'll end up devouring you anyways. So you're essentially not making enough money. If you don't take the time, invest your time and invest your money in the education of marketing and learning how to properly and ethically market yourself and your business, there is no business. There's no getting around it. Because otherwise, what you would be doing is creating a product or creating a service and literally sitting around and hoping people buy from you. And I'm sorry. No, doesn't work that way. Not going to ever work that way. So marketing is constantly always changing and developing. It's also something utilized and experienced in different layers. So like I said, from this huge corporate level to a smaller individual and entrepreneur level. But there are some really, really amazing coaches, entrepreneurs, business owners, and advisors that give out their marketing education and knowledge both for free and paid. And these are really, really easier to find more than ever. Education on marketing is more widely offered and accessible than it ever has been, ever. There are a fucking slew of people offering free little downloads and guides and master classes you can hop into and workshops. Sometimes they're free a ton of the time. Lots of times it's a handful of dollars, or maybe it's a couple tens, it's like $20 to join a workshop a lot of the time. If the workshop of your dreams is $12,000 and your budget is $120, I would recommend you continue searching and opening yourself up to the type of people teaching marketing to people in your stage of your stage and your experience of business ownership, because they're out there. Just like I clearly defined at the beginning of all of this, like the kind of people that I work with, the right people, the successful and ethical people will do the exact same thing. And they'll say things like, I help you get clear on your business idea and start your business from the ground up. That people, that kind of coach and mentor is not in short supply. There are a ton and a fuck ton of them. And you know what? Are tons of them like shitty and unethical and bad? Yeah, that's going to be in any industry. Plenty of them will just be fine, but they just won't resonate with you. That's okay. But you got to put yourself out there. You got to make the time investment, and you're going to have to eventually make some kind of monetary investment in your business when it comes to marketing, especially marketing education. I always thought marketing investment automatically had to mean advertisements. And quite frankly, ads don't and won't serve your business until you reach a certain level anyways. It's an investment that is a waste of money for most early stage entrepreneurs and business owners who that money would crazy more benefit them if they spent it on marketing education and use that money towards some kind of workshop for themselves or their business partners or whatever, anyone that they work with. So marketing essentially is getting past the idea that it's just ads, because it's so much more than that. And if you're wondering, like, Danny, where do I even fucking start though? You say that they're out there. Guess what, my neighbor? I have the best news ever for you. You are a consumer. You are a customer. You buy things from people all the time. There are people that you follow and really love their work, and you gobble up their information all the time. And you buy things from them. And guess what? Your friends and family members that, again, align with your values, that would be the key here, people that align with your values, they are also customers and consumers. They buy stuff too. They're often sharing this information and talking about these people. So don't be afraid to, number one, ask yourself, well, who do you buy from? Who are some of your favorite businesses that you follow, like on social media, for example? And what can you, if you take more of an observer role, what can you see they're doing in their marketing style? And you're probably like, well, how could I know that? They have some kind of strategy. Well, you know, because you know why you buy from them. That's what you have to ask yourself. Why do you buy from them? Who do you buy from and why? Will give you some of the best direction to head in. And some really easy marketing research to get you started would be, again, to ask some values aligned people in your community this same question. Who are some of your favorite business owners, influencers, whatever it is? You could even say a specific niche, like, who are your favorite product-based businesses? Who are your favorite podcasters? Who are your favorite tarot readers? Who are your favorite astrologers? Whatever the category is, say, who are your favorite? Who do you actually buy products from and why? You could post this on your Instagram stories. You could send a text message or an email. And just, again, this could just be your acquaintances and friends that you ask. And just start getting, this would provide amazing, amazing direction, such a simple, free question to ask. And that person will easily be able to answer and go, oh my God, I love this person, and this person. I found this person this year, and I just love her style because the way that she does this and this, and I like how they say this. That, I promise, this alone will give you such a great direction to head in. Once you find some people, once you get some, like, oh, I want to, I like to buy from this person, or so-and-so recommended this person and their company and their business model. Now go look into them, see how you can learn from them, and then don't be afraid to try things and track their performance. There is trial and error. Another thing I'd go back and tell my younger self is it's not all bad that you guys did so much trial and error. You definitely prioritized it over investing in your education. And that's definitely where this section comes from. But one thing you guys were never afraid to do was try shit out and talk about how it worked and didn't work. And that is something that you absolutely have to be willing to do in your business. And it's a lot scarier than you think, honestly, because you're investing your time and you're investing your money and you're trying these things out. And especially if it doesn't go how you expected, it can be really hard to do that reflection afterwards. But holy cow, is it valuable? Now, our next section, number 4, is sales, pricing, and strategy. So again, let's not forget, when it comes to sales, pricing, and strategy, don't rush it, don't skip it, and make sure you learn it. Another area that we really didn't do a lot of investing in our education. It took me personally a really long time to consistently invest my time and my money in my business education. We're very, very hardwired to I have to do this on my own because I have to be as original as possible. You are being original, you are being authentic, and you still need to learn things because you don't know how to do them. I didn't know dick about sales. I didn't know dick about pricing. I definitely didn't know dick about strategy. And here's the thing. You have to promote your shit and you have to tell your customers when, how, and why to buy your shit. And you have to tell them this regularly and you have to tell them this ethically. You have to merge everything that you learn from in marketing once you've attracted people to you. And the reason you've attracted them is you've put out hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we align with. We understand this. If you like this, you should be coming here. That's your marketing, right? Sales and sales strategy and your pricing is the next step. Now they've come to you. Now they've come into the circle. And now you have to say, hey, this is what I sell. You should buy it. This is why. And guess what? You cannot skip this. Again, don't rush it. Don't skip it. Make sure you learn this. If you skip this, no one's going to buy your shit. Well, that might not be true. Some people might buy your shit, but not nearly enough to keep your actual business running. Humans have all kinds of financial psychology that we're not going to go into, quite frankly. But for our intents and purposes, it's important to know that if you don't tell anyone why they should buy what you have and when they should, and then how to do it and actually provide a platform to perform that transaction, you're just setting yourself up for failure. The amount of people I've worked with that are and this was totally my own words, so I'm not shitting on anything. It's just an extremely common experience. But the amount of people I have to work with that I work with that have to say about their business, I just don't like telling people that. I just don't like telling. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be a salesman, that icky pressure. We've all experienced it. And we actually talk about this in the Divine Energy Exchange episode from way back when. Feels so long ago now. And I think it was just earlier this year, in 2022. But the thing of it is that you have taken the time to flush out your values, your vision, your mission. You've created this product or service. You've built this beautiful operations foundation, and you're really doing your best to nurture and feed your business. You spend all this time telling people that you have it and getting them to pay attention to you and look at you through your marketing. And then you're telling me that that's where you're going to stop? That's where you're going to go, well, I'll leave it up to the fates. Well, I'm assuming you know what's going to happen after that. Because even in manifestation, maybe this really helps with this particular crowd here, since we're a bunch of witches and practitioners. Maybe looking at business in this way will really help with the sales thing. I want you to think of your sales pitches as affirmations. An affirmation to your client or your customer, an affirmation to yourself and your business and what you do, and an affirmation to the universe. Your sales really should be a statement of worthiness. And that's why you shouldn't and can't skip it. It would be like doing all of the prep work for the ritual and what you want to manifest, and then doing nothing else about it and stopping short there. Like doing a job interview ritual. And you do all this prep work and you like get crystals and you make a special sigil and you create this whole entire beautiful evening around opening yourself up for the dream job opportunity. And then you just never send out a job application. You never update your resume. You never list it anywhere. You just sit there and smile and go, okay, I'll wait. What the fuck do you think would happen? The same thing goes here. So when we look at our business as a sacred business and a sacred system and process, this is an important key to that process. And it's like an affirmation that not only states worthiness, but it's a promise of following through. That's how you make sales holistic and ethical. So start looking at your sales and your pricing and your strategy, the way that you structure and create intentions for your rituals and all of those movements that you do in your manifestation rituals. Treat this the exact same way. And I really, really, really think you will see an absolutely beautiful flourishing in your business. Now, finally, our last section here is the customer. Once again, and for our final time, when it comes to the customer, don't rush it, don't skip it, and make sure you learn it. When we talk about ideal client avatar, you may have heard this if you've ever taken any kind of business coaching or mentorship or some kind of business course or class, entrepreneur workshop. Your ideal client avatar or your dream client, your aligned client, your dream customer. This, where this originally stems from in big time marketing, like corporate marketing and like big box marketing. Yes, ideal client avatar was created to understand the customer on a psychological level, learn as much about them from the inside all the way to their outside environment and community so that you can way more accurately predict their decisions and choices and movements. You know what's really funny? Guess what that is identical to? Astrology. Same thing. It's learning the planets from the inside out as much as possible so that you can more accurately predict what their choices and actions and interactions and events are going to look like. How funny. Now, this has been abused in marketing and business for a really long time. It's been abused to get people to just fork over endless amounts of cash. But when we in the ethical entrepreneur sphere, when we look at and really look through the lens of ideal client avatar, what we actually use this for is to best understand our clients so that we can more effectively communicate with them. Because we know that our product or our services benefit this person. It helps them. It's something they would really, really enjoy. It would really, really assist them, whatever it is. And this is a way more aligned way of conducting client experience. So, one of the biggest mistakes is that we just start looking at customers as sales numbers. Even people in like the early stages of business ownership, it's really easy and kind of a slippery slope that you just because you get like a little high, you get like a little dopamine boost every time you get a sale. And you are really grateful. Don't get me wrong. I always love the meme or whatever that goes around every year that's like when you buy from a small business, a real person does a real happy dance. And that's true. There is so much gratitude that happens. But because you are in a business and you have to keep it organized and keep it thriving, you're also in the business of tracking. And so you're looking at these numbers all the time. It's really easy that your customers and your clients lose a face. And then on top of that, we start feeling really pressured to conduct business the same way Amazon does, the same way Target does, the same way, fill in the blank for your favorite store that you buy from. That's a very established and giant company. We're not them. We shouldn't conduct business that way. Most of us start businesses for a much, much more personal reason. So there should be a long stage in business where we keep it extremely personal. There may come a day that you grow a company to the point where a lot of your business model is a lot more similar to a corporate business model. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for this huge rebirth that our entire umbrella of professionalism as a global economy is changing and rebirthing in these years. People are demanding ethical business. People are demanding values aligned business transactions. And it's therefore inevitable that we're going to start seeing some really, really big corporations and conglomerates that are actually doing really, really ethical and good things for the business world and for the community at large. You may be one of those people, my friend, running a place like that one day. And at that time, it may be necessary to use systems and processes and strategies that more benefit that size of company. But I'm not talking to anybody right now that runs that large of a conglomerate. And so for our intents and purposes, it's a lot more beneficial to you and to your customer base if you see them as individual people who each bring value to your business and your business's community. So the reason you should put a name and put a face to your customer, the reason you should learn how they work from the inside out is because you should care about them and you should treat them with respect. This will foster this alone. I'm serious. Giving a fuck about the person you sell to and treating them with respect is probably some of the most fundamental business practices that have been absolutely fucking abused over the last several, probably centuries, at least several hundred years. I really, really believe though, and I don't just believe this, we see this time and time and time again. I know that there are unethical businesses with unethical practices still standing and still standing strong, but I hope you mark my words about all this, because I do believe a day where that kind of shit comes pretty much permanently crumbling to the ground will happen. I think that we will see days as a human race, we will see a time where unethical, corrupt businesses collapse in on themselves so much easier, because the precedence and the bar is held so high, and it's kept high because so many fucking badasses took over and started running business from a truly authentic and aligned and intentional place. And I'm telling you, those kinds of businesses, they put a name and they put a face to their customers and their clients. They care about them. They treat them with respect. And they give them clear boundaries and a clear path to follow. That's called your funnel and your client experience. Your funnel really is this beautiful system that you create that actually takes pretty much all of the parts and pieces that we went through today, all these different departments. And it's a system that you create that attracts people in from an aligned message. Again, you could do a funnel in a totally icky, unethical, corrupt way, but we're not going to talk about that. You put out this heart-centered, aligned, and authentic message and branding and marketing. And so you start attracting the really aligned people that really resonate with your message. That's the open end of the funnel. They take a step further and they start consuming your content. They're really enjoying it. They're really benefiting from it. They're finding that it brings value to their lives. So they take a step further. They want more from you. And this is when you sell them the things that you offer. And in order to do that, you have to give them clear boundaries and a clear path. These are our policies. This is where you go to buy it. This is how you buy it. These are the payment methods that we take. We don't do this kind of business. We don't do that. These are the clear boundaries and the clear path. They benefit your client by giving them a clear and enjoyable client experience. And it came from giving a shit about them as a human being first and foremost. And I'm not saying when I first started my business that we didn't give a fuck about our customers. Because if there's one thing, or I should now say, if there's another thing that I could go back and tell my less experienced self and those girls starting that business and running those early years of that business, I definitely would go back and say, I'm so glad that you guys kept giving a fuck about who you were selling to. I'm so glad that you didn't let the hardships and challenges of business ownership jade that part of the experience and that part of the business. From the beginning of my journey in my first business to the end of my journey in my first business to now, that's never ended. I've always, always, always given a really huge shit about you, you guys. I have. And I promise to never, ever, ever stop. Do you know why? Because I want anyone that I'm buying anything from or investing any of my time in to give a shit about me and to value me. All of this ultimately really is the process of business manifestation. Manifestation is getting clear on your intentions and your vision and your values, what you actually want, what you actually desire, and making the micro decisions and taking the micro actions day in and day out that get you there. You'll have big decisions that come along the way. Sure, you will. That'll be part of the manifestation too. But I'm telling you, the main things that add up are a lot of the things that we worked through today. These micro parts, but profoundly important parts of business ownership. So I hope that this episode was inspiring. I hope that it was insightful. Hopefully you learned something today. I would really, really love to answer any questions for you if anything came up. This is something that I want to start offering more support and education for in that witch school and in our bonus content as well, because I'm just really, really, really passionate about it. And I know how many of you are seeking this yourselves, and you're ready. You're really, really ready for it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. I hope that this was helpful. I would love to hear if there was anything else you'd want to hear about this, or if there's anything you wish I could elaborate more on. I love that kind of feedback. So I hope that you have a beautiful solstice tomorrow. I hope that you have a magical start to Capricorn season. I'm sending you all of my love and all of my support through the holidays over the weekend. And I hope that you stay safe. I hope you have tons of fun and stay magical out there. Hi, neighbor. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of That Witch Podcast. If you want to support the show and get your hands on some really magical goodies, make sure you check out some of the awesome companies that I'm an affiliate for in the show notes below. You can also leave a 5-star rating and review on iTunes as well as Spotify now. And really the best way to support That Witch Podcast is just by sharing the show online, like your social media platforms, or telling a friend that you think would enjoy it. If you're looking for more magical content like bonus episodes, classes I teach, and support in your witchcraft, make sure you come check us out in That Witch School, my magical monthly membership with a very welcoming private online community. And don't forget to subscribe to my email list for weekly astro forecasts, journal prompts, and more, and stay up to date with all of the happenings here in the neighborhood.